Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Safe Simple Sound podcast, where we cut through the noise to help you build a financial life that feels secure and makes sense. I'm your host, Alex. Today's episode is based on our article title, Two Simple Questions That Reveal Everything About Your Financial Future, and it perfectly diagnoses a problem I see all the time. The core idea is that when we feel stuck with our money, it's not just a single problem. It's almost always one of two things. We're either confused about our options, or we know what to do but are hesitating to act. This insight is a game changer because it helps us stop feeling that general financial anxiety and start targeting the real issue. Understanding this difference is the first step toward achieving genuine financial clarity. And that's what we're all about here, making your financial life feel safe, simple, and sound by empowering you to understand your financial choices. If you're successful in your career, but still feel a sense of financial overwhelm or analysis paralysis when it comes to your own money, this episode is designed specifically for you. Get ready for an insightful exploration that will give you a new framework for thinking about your finances. Let's dive in. So let's start with something I call the should trap. How many times have you said this to yourself or heard a friend say it? I know I should be investing more. Or I should really figure out my 401k, or everyone says I should have a will by now. That word, should, feels productive, but it's actually a dead end. It's like telling a mechanic, my car should be running better. It doesn't tell them if the battery is dead, if you're out of gas, or if the engine is on fire. It's a symptom, not a diagnosis. And when you start your financial decision making from that place, you just end up feeling guilty and stuck. This led me to a fundamental discovery after years of these conversations. I realized that nearly all of our financial roadblocks, all that feeling of being stuck, stem from one of two distinct states. You're either in a state of confusion or you're in a state of hesitation. Let me break that down. Confusion is the intellectual side. It's saying, I genuinely don't understand my options. You're facing a wall of jargon, complex choices, and you're experiencing a sense of financial overwhelm. Think about trying to pick the right funds for your 401k or understanding different college savings plans. The problem isn't your motivation, it's a lack of clear, simple education. Then there's hesitation. This one is emotional. It's when you say, I think I know what to do, but I just can't seem to pull the trigger. This is where investment hesitation and financial anxiety live. You might have read all the articles, you might even know the logical next step, but something inside is holding you back. And this is why the traditional approach of just throwing more information at people often fails. More data might help with confusion, but it can actually make hesitation worse by feeding into analysis paralysis. So this brings us to the core of it all. The two diagnostic questions that cut through the complexity. Instead of starting with, what should I do? You need to ask yourself these two, much more powerful questions. First, what am I confused about? And second, what am I hesitating to do? Let's make this real. Imagine a family aggressively saving for college in a standard savings account. They keep hearing they should be doing something different. If we ask them what they're confused about, they might say, I don't understand how a 529 plan actually works or how it affects financial aid. See, their problem isn't a lack of desire, it's a knowledge gap. They need education. Now, let's take another example. A successful professional with a lot of cash in the bank. They keep saying they're thinking about investing, but month after month, the money stays put. They aren't confused about what a stock is. Their issue is hesitation. They are afraid of losing money, and their actions reveal a deep-seated value for security. What they need isn't another chart about stock market returns. They need validation. They need someone to help them see that they've already chosen a conservative path, and that's okay. Then we can build a sound strategy around that reality. Understanding this distinction changes everything. It's the key to achieving real financial clarity. Because confusion needs education and hesitation needs validation. Once you know which state you're in, you know exactly what kind of help you need. You stop trying to use a hammer when what you really need is a screwdriver. So I want you to take a moment and reflect on this yourself. Think about a financial goal you have right now. Maybe it's increasing your retirement savings or finally buying that life insurance policy. Can you tell right now if your main obstacle is confusion? You don't understand the options? Or is it hesitation? You know the what, but you're stuck on the why. Being able to diagnose that is the first, most critical step. To wrap this up, the big takeaway is to stop punishing yourself with the word should. Instead, get curious. The next time you feel that financial friction, pause and ask, am I confused or am I hesitating? The answer will point you toward the real solution. And that brings me to your call to action for this week. It's very simple. I just want you to listen. That's it. For the next 7 days, just notice when you, your partner, or your friends use phrases like, I should, or everyone says when talking about money. Don't try to fix it. Don't act on it. Just observe the pattern. This simple act of awareness is the foundation for a much healthier approach to your financial planning. Now that we've learned how to diagnose the problem, in our next segment, we're going to tackle that first state head on. We'll be decoding confusion, talking about how to move from that feeling of financial overwhelm to genuine, actionable clarity. We'll break down exactly what to do when you feel lost in the complexity. In our last segment, we introduced this really powerful idea that almost every financial roadblock you face comes down to one of two things. You're either confused about your options or you're hesitating to act on something you already know. Today, we're going to tackle the first and often the biggest of those hurdles. We're decoding confusion and talking about how to move from that state of financial overwhelm to genuine financial clarity. So let's start with what financial confusion really is, because we often misdiagnose it. We think, oh, I must not be motivated enough, or I'm just bad with money. But that's not it. Financial confusion is simply a signal. It's your brain telling you, I need this to be simpler. I need education, not a sales pitch. It's a problem of understanding, not a lack of willpower. Think about it. Has anyone ever tried to persuade you to do something you didn't understand? It just creates more resistance, more financial anxiety. This brings me to our first guiding question for you today. In what part of your financial life does the jargon and complexity feel like a barrier that was almost designed to keep you out? Is it investing, insurance, your own company's benefits package? Just hold that thought. Let's make this real with a classic example. We call it the 401k paralysis. Picture a brilliant software engineer. She can debug a million lines of code before lunch, but she logs into her 401k portal and just freezes. She's staring at a list of 50 different mutual funds with names like Mid-Cap Value Index, International Growth A-Shares, Aggressive Lifestyle 2050. The sheer volume of data, the alphabet soup of tickers, it's pure financial overwhelm. The traditional advice would be to hand her a 30-page prospectus for each fund. But that's more data, not more clarity. The solution isn't a PhD in modern portfolio theory. The solution is simplification. For effective 401k optimization, she only needs to understand a few simple principles. 1. Diversification is just don't put all your eggs in one basket. 2. Expense ratios are just the lower the fee, the more money stays in your pocket. 3. Target date fund is just a set it and forget it option designed to do the work for you. Suddenly, those 50 choices shrink to maybe 2 or 3 logical options. That's moving from confusion to clarity. It wasn't about motivation. It was about getting the right, simplified instructions. This brings us to the path to clarity. It's a practical, repeatable process. First, you have to focus on foundational knowledge. Don't try to understand cryptocurrency derivatives if you're still fuzzy on what a Roth IRA is. Second, use clear comparisons. A great example is with college savings plans. You might hear about 529s, Coverdell's, or just using a brokerage account. The path to a good decision isn't reading the entire tax code. It's seeing a simple side-by-side chart. Here's how option A affects taxes. Here's how option B affects financial aid, which is more important to you. That's how you empower good financial decision-making. You seek simplification over raw information. This leads me to our second guiding question, which is really a reframing exercise. The next time you feel that overwhelm, instead of thinking, I'm just bad with money, I want you to try this phrase on for size. I haven't been taught this concept in a simple way yet. See how that shifts the power? It turns a personal failing into an information problem that has a solution. And the solution, that moment you're looking for, is the aha moment. It's that feeling when a complex topic finally clicks into place. I see this all the time with people planning for retirement and wrestling with Social Security timing. They spend years with this low-grade anxiety about when to claim. But the moment you show them a simple graph of their potential lifetime benefits, all that financial anxiety just evaporates. That single moment of genuine understanding is more powerful than years of worrying. That is the feeling of financial clarity. So, let's wrap this up. Financial confusion isn't a character flaw, it's a sign that you need a simpler map. You can overcome it by focusing on simple principles, like we saw with 401k optimization, and seeking out clear comparisons for things like college savings plans. The goal is to find that one aha moment that replaces overwhelm with confidence. And that brings us to your call to action for this week. It's simple, but it's powerful. I want you to pick one, just one, financial topic that is causing you confusion right now. Maybe it's your stock options, your life insurance, or what a high-yield savings account actually is. Your mission is to find one trusted resource, a single article, a podcast episode, or a short video that promises to make that topic simple, not just comprehensive. Find the filter, not the fire hose. Now, once you have that understanding, you might find yourself ready to act. But what if you do understand your options and you're still not moving forward? Well, that's not confusion anymore. That's hesitation. And it's a completely different problem that requires a completely different solution. And that's exactly what we're going to dive into in our next segment: how to conquer financial hesitation and turn that paralysis into confident action. Stick around. What happens when you do have the information? When you know exactly what you probably should do, but you just can't pull the trigger? That, my friends, is the other, much trickier beast: financial hesitation. And that's what we're tackling today. We're going to look at what that hesitation is really trying to tell you, why more research is the wrong medicine, and how you can finally move from being frozen by financial analysis paralysis to making choices with real confidence. So let's start with the big reveal. Financial hesitation isn't a knowledge gap. It's an emotional barrier. It's like a check engine light on your dashboard. The light itself isn't the problem. It's a bright, flashing signal pointing to something deeper under the hood. Your hesitation is a signpost pointing directly to your unspoken values and your deepest fears. And that feeling it generates, that gnawing unease, that is the root of so much financial anxiety. Let me give you a classic example. I call it the undecided investor. You might even know this person. Maybe you are this person. They're a successful professional, great income, smart and capable. They've read the books, they listen to podcasts like this one, and they know intellectually that they should be investing their money for the long term. But when you look at their accounts, they have a huge amount of their wealth just sitting in a low-yield savings account. When you ask them about it, they say, "Oh, I'm still deciding on my strategy," or "I'm just waiting for the right time to get in." They experience this constant investment hesitation. But here's the thing: they haven't been undecided. They've been making a choice every single day. By leaving that money in cash, they have subconsciously chosen security over growth. Their inaction is an action driven by a powerful, unspoken need to feel safe and in control. They aren't undecided. They've just made a decision their logical brain won't let them acknowledge. So I want you to take a second and reflect on this. Consider a financial move you've been avoiding. Maybe it's increasing your 401k contribution or finally setting up that will. What is the underlying feeling or belief that's really holding you back from acting? It's probably not about the paperwork. This leads us to the solution, and it's probably not what you think. The answer for our undecided investor isn't another spreadsheet comparing S&P 500 index funds. They already have that data. The solution is validation. The breakthrough happens when that person can finally say, "You know what? I am prioritizing security right now. Keeping my money safe feels more important to me than potential growth." It's about giving yourself permission to own your intuitive choice and understanding the why behind it. The moment you acknowledge the value, in this case, security, The guilt and the financial anxiety around not doing what you're supposed to starts to evaporate. You're no longer fighting yourself. And that is how we get from paralysis to confidence. You can overcome financial analysis paralysis by forcing yourself to make a choice that fights your core values. It's like trying to push a river uphill. You overcome it by aligning your choices with those values. Once our investor acknowledges their need for security, their financial decision-making changes. The conversation shifts from "I'm procrastinating on investing" to "Okay, I am confidently pursuing a plan that honors my need for security." What does that look like? Maybe it's a portfolio that's 80% bonds. Maybe it's a plan to automate a very small investment each month to slowly build comfort with risk. Whatever it is, it's now a proactive, confident plan, not a source of shame. And this brings up a crucial question for all of us. How can you differentiate between healthy caution and unhealthy hesitation when it comes to your money? Think of it this way. Healthy caution is productive. It involves research and planning that moves you toward a clear goal, even if slowly. Unhealthy hesitation is a loop. It's endless research with no finish line, fueled by a feeling of dread. Caution has a direction. Hesitation just spins in place. So to wrap this up, financial hesitation is an emotional signal, not a logical problem. It's pointing to what you truly value. Don't fight it with more data. Listen to it and give yourself permission to own that value. When you align your financial plan with what you actually care about, that's when you stop procrastinating and start moving forward with confidence. And that brings us to your call to action for this segment. I want you to identify just one financial task you're hesitating on. It could be big or small, but instead of trying to force yourself to do it, I want you to do the opposite. Grab a notebook or a piece of paper, and for 10 minutes, just write down what you think your hesitation is trying to tell you about what you truly value. Is it security, freedom, simplicity? Find the value behind the hesitation. Okay, so now we've diagnosed the two fundamental states that hold us back: confusion, which needs education, and hesitation, which needs validation. The next logical step is to put this all together into a system. So in our final segment today, we're going to do just that. We'll build a practical framework for ongoing financial decision-making, including a 15-minute monthly check-in that will help you maintain that hard-won clarity and confidence. Stay with us. Now, we need to build the bridge from understanding to action. So in this final segment, we're getting intensely practical. We're moving from the why to the how with your action plan, a practical framework for financial decision-making. This is where the rubber meets the road. We're going to take this powerful two-question framework and turn it into a repeatable system that builds momentum and brings you lasting financial clarity. So, let's start with the cornerstone of this action plan. I call it the 15-minute financial check-in. I know what some of you are thinking. Alex, my finances are a mess. 15 minutes isn't enough. But that's the beauty of it. We're not trying to solve everything. We're trying to build a rhythm. The goal is to fight financial overwhelm with consistency, not complexity. Here's how it works. Sometime in the next week, I want you to open your calendar, digital, paper, whatever you use, and schedule a 15-minute non-negotiable meeting with yourself. Title it Financial Check-In. The only two items on the agenda are the questions we've been talking about. Number 1, what am I confused about right now? And number 2, what am I hesitating to do? That's it. You just write down your answers. Maybe you're confused about 401k optimization. Great, write it down. Maybe you're hesitating to increase your contributions. Perfect, write that down too. This simple act done once a month creates a running log of your financial state of mind. It builds momentum and keeps small points of confusion from snowballing into full-blown financial anxiety. Now, for those of you with that analytical mind, and I know there are a lot of you listening, especially our tech professionals and business owners, I want you to reframe this entire process. Let's talk about debugging your finances. When you have a bug in your code or a process bottleneck in your business, you don't just randomly change things. You follow a logical sequence. You identify the issue, find the root cause, and implement a specific fix. We can apply that exact same logic to your financial planning. Is the issue confusion? The root cause is a knowledge gap. The fix is targeted education. Is the issue hesitation? The root cause is likely an emotional barrier or a values misalignment. The fix is validation and self awareness. Thinking of it this way transforms the process from an emotional chore into a logical problem to be solved. It's a powerful way to break through that feeling of financial analysis paralysis and start making clear, confident, forward progress. And this framework doesn't just work for you as an individual, it can completely transform your family money conversations. How many discussions about money with a partner start with an accusation, even a gentle one? Things like, why haven't we dealt with the college savings plans yet? Or, we really need to talk about life insurance. It immediately puts one person on the defensive. But what if you used our two questions? What if you shifted the conversation from accusation to collaboration? Instead of, why haven't we done this? You could ask, it feels like we're hesitating on this. What do you think is holding us back? Or, I'm feeling confused about our options here. Are you? Suddenly, you're not on opposite sides of the table. You're on the same side, looking at the problem together. It creates a shared language for financial decision-making that builds trust instead of resentment. Finally, let's talk about how this empowers you when working with a professional. If you have a financial advisor or are thinking of hiring one, these two questions are your new superpower. So many people walk into an advisor's office, throw their hands up, and say, just tell me what to do. You end up with generic advice because you've given them a generic problem. Instead, imagine walking into that meeting and saying, okay, here's my list. I am confused about tax loss harvesting and how Social Security benefits are calculated. I need education here. And I'm hesitating to commit to a more aggressive investment strategy, even though I know it aligns my long-term goals. I need help understanding that hesitation. Do you see the difference? You've just directed the expert to give you exactly what you need: targeted education for your confusion and insightful validation for your hesitation. You'll get more value out of every single minute with them. In fact, one of the most important questions to ask your financial advisor before you even hire them could be how they'd respond to that very prompt. So, as we wrap this up, I want you to reflect for a moment. How could this two-question framework change the way you prepare for a meeting with a financial professional? And take it a step further. What is the biggest decision on your plate right now, financial or otherwise, and how can these questions help you diagnose your very next step? Is it a confusion problem or a hesitation problem? All right, let's bring it all home. We've laid out a simple, powerful action plan. You can maintain financial clarity with a 15-minute monthly check-in. You can overcome analysis paralysis by debugging your finances like a pro. You can build stronger family partnerships by shifting from accusation to collaboration. And you can get incredible value from professional advice by showing up with your confusion and hesitation in hand. Which leads me to your call to action. It's simple, but I promise you, it's a game changer. Sometime this week, I want you to open your calendar and schedule your first 15-minute financial check-in for this month. The only agenda items are the two questions: what am I confused about? And what am I hesitating to do? Just do that one thing. Start the process. Because understanding what you're actually facing is the first, most critical step on the path to a financial life that feels truly safe, simple, and sound. Thank you so much for joining me today. And that brings us to the end of our discussion today. That final idea of a 15-minute monthly check-in is such a practical way to implement this framework. It transforms financial planning from a huge, daunting task into a simple, repeatable habit. So, let's zoom out and recap. We started with the simple but revolutionary idea that most of our financial roadblocks come from just two places: confusion or hesitation. Just by asking, what am I confused about and what am I hesitating to do, you can diagnose your own situation and stop feeling that vague financial anxiety. We explored how confusion, like with 401k optimization, needs simplification and education, not more data. And we saw how investment hesitation often isn't about logic, but about unspoken values that need to be validated. This is the core of better financial decision-making. It's a system that's especially powerful for the analytical minds out there, like the tech professionals and business owners listening who are used to debugging problems logically. If there's one thing you take away from our conversation, I hope it's the understanding that you don't have to live with a constant feeling of financial overwhelm. By identifying whether you need education or validation, you can finally achieve the financial clarity you've been searching for. My challenge to you this week is simple. Take action on that final topic we discussed. Schedule your first 15-minute financial check-in your calendar right now. The only agenda is to ask yourself those two powerful questions. Thank you so much for tuning in and being part of the Safe, Simple, Sound community. I truly appreciate you spending this time with me. If you found this episode helpful, the best way to say thanks is to share it with a friend or colleague you think it might resonate with. And of course, please subscribe so you don't miss what's next. We'll be building on these ideas in our next episode, where we'll discuss how to use this new clarity to have more productive money conversations with your partner or family. Until then, keep asking the right questions. Remember, the goal is to make your financial life feel safe, simple, and sound. This is Alex, signing off.